This petty and vindictive teacher wants to retaliate against the students. He actually openly set up a challenge in the school. As long as they have the ability to defeat Dallas freshmen, they will all be admitted to Imo Academy. Dallas also has a way to deal with his harassment. Those who want to pass can directly scan the QR code to pay 10,000 yuan. Otherwise, just go back where you came from. The person who smashed the city wall is not convinced. He came out immediately to challenge Dallas. It's better for you to just admit defeat. Otherwise, I'm afraid I will strike too hard and leave you disabled. Dallas had no reaction. Instead, he glanced at Gray. Gray grinned widely. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started quickly. As soon as he finished speaking, Dallas moved as well. In just a breath's time, he had flashed behind Strongman. The originally gentle and amiable Strongman. His eyes instantly turned bloodshot. He didn't even care about losing track of Dallas. Vaguely visible, a series of red patterns was glowing inside his body. He stomped the ground forcefully, causing it to tremble slightly. The next second, as if sensing something, he suddenly turned around. His fist swung towards a spot behind him. But there was no one there. Strongman looked confused and asked, "Where did Dallas go?" Only Gray's face showed a faint smile. This little guy really knows how to take advantage of the blind spot in his field of view. He just woke up and already has such rich combat skills. Next year, we can really consider bringing in some students from Sin Town to try it out. Strongman was extremely angry at being played with. He immediately gathered his strength and leaped into the air. Unable to find it on the ground, he went to look for it in the sky. He didn't see Dallas's figure until he was 3 meters high in the air. Then he descended from above, throwing a punch at Dallas with the momentum of his descent. On the other hand, Dallas remained aloof and unaffected as usual. A long stick slowly materialized beside him. At that moment, a bewildered look appeared in Strongman's eyes. He punched straight into the ground, and his body also lost balance, falling down clumsily. Dallas slowly walked up to him and squatted down in front of him. He punched Strongman in the face. Strongman screamed in pain. Dallas took the opportunity to pull out a tooth and tossed it on the ground. The whole sequence of movements was done very skillfully, taking less than 3 seconds. Gray touched his chin and stared at Dallas. This little guy has some skills. He remains calm when faced with attacks. His strikes are clean and decisive. He even cut off the opponent's retreat. He is much stronger than some senior students from the previous competition. He slowly opened his mouth to announce Dallas's victory. At this moment, the loudspeaker sounded again. This strongman is not bad. Let's make a deal. If you admit defeat, I will give you $10,000. Although Dallas didn't know who was speaking, being able to casually deduct Gray's salary definitely meant that person was not ordinary. $10,000 was the price before I took action. Now that I have made a move, if you want me to admit defeat, you'll have to add more money. The school openly sets up a platform for enrollment, where the winning students stay and the losing ones leave. Dallas quickly and easily took care of a strong man. The proctor was about to announce the elimination. The loudspeaker suddenly interjected. Dallas, if you admit defeat, I will pay you 10,000 yuan. Dallas rejected without hesitation. He had already told them to pay directly by scanning the code. But they insisted on trying to trick him. Now they have to pay extra. Soon the loudspeaker rang out. In that case, how about 20,000? We'll deduct it from Gray teacher's salary and give it to you. He nodded in agreement to the price. Gray is not happy. The transaction between you two. Why deduct from my salary? The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Even if you are a school leader, you can't bully people like this. Believe it or not, I can set this school on fire. Gray's roar echoed on the playground in the campus. The loudspeaker suddenly said something that left Gray powerless to refute. Just because I am the vice principal, and you are a teacher, my words are the rule. Do you have any questions? Gray clenched his fists, his chest heaving up and down in anger. Through gritted teeth, he said, "No!" Onlookers beside them found it unbelievable. Based on their understanding, this teacher seemed petty. Why did he choose to back down when facing the loudspeaker? Moreover, it sounded like the vice principal personally intervened to resolve the situation and conveniently took advantage of the situation to make things difficult for the teacher at this MO Academy. It's really quite stimulating. Gray suddenly turned around upon hearing their comments. "Stop talking nonsense over there. Who's next?" At that moment, a young man carrying tombstones slowly walked forward. Dallas, tilting his head, said, "It will cost 30,000 this time." As his voice fell, the tombstone boy's demeanor gradually turned cold. He gently shook his arm, and the iron chain slipped off. The tombstone fell heavily to the ground. The floor was smashed to pieces. At this time, the aloof vice principal interjected once again. "Just remember to mention that Gray is responsible for the floor damaged by the strongman's hammer. As a teacher, failing to protect the school's property, 10 credits and salary will be deducted." Gray couldn't take it anymore. He turned around and threw a stone, smashing the loudspeaker to pieces. "I've had enough of you, old fart." Then he turned back and angrily scolded Tombstone Boy. "If you dare to damage the floor, I will smash you." At this moment, Quentin on the side suddenly spoke up. "It's okay, you can smash it boldly. I have money. If you can seriously injure him, I will have an additional reward for you." Gray stared straight at Quentin. He subconsciously rubbed his hands together. If he remembers correctly, MO Academy hasn't seen this kind of big shot in many years. As long as people have money, they really can do whatever they want. With Quentin backing him up, Tombstone Boy's fighting style becomes more fierce. The tombstone keeps slashing through the air, quickly cornering Dallas against the wall. At this moment, a small remote controller suddenly appeared in Dallas's hand. He pressed a button without hesitation. A loud roar resounded throughout the entire MO Academy. Tombstone Boy hesitated for just a split second. Dallas seized the opportunity. He pulled out a fishing line from his pocket. He tightly wound the fishing line around Tombstone Boy's neck. Dallas went crazy on the first day of school. Tombstone Boy used the advantage of his weapon to corner Dallas. Dallas pulled out a remote control and pressed it directly. The deafening explosion startled Tombstone Boy, causing him to suddenly turn around. In this brief moment, Dallas made his move. He took out a fishing line and securely locked Tombstone Boy's throat. He exerted force and directly separated him from his head. Tombstone Boy froze in place. He couldn't believe that it was all an illusion. Just now, he clearly felt the murderous intent from Dallas. The pressure Dallas brought him felt like he had really been slit at the throat. When he came to his senses, he carefully examined the academy and found no explosion had occurred. Moreover, it seemed like the sound just now came from the speakers. Taking advantage of me being distracted by the explosion sound, he suddenly activated the awakened object to disrupt me, then launched a sudden attack, bringing me into a life-threatening situation. It should be the thin thread in his hand. At this moment, Dallas looked silently at the fishing line in his hand. He almost made a mistake and killed him just now, relying solely on muscle memory. Now, he is no longer in Sin Town. It seems he needs to pay attention to this kind of subconscious reaction. At this time, the surrounding classmates were all puzzled. Just now was a great chance at a tombstone. He had the opportunity to get closer. Why not use fists or a dagger to solve it? That way he would have won. But they did not know the power of Dallas's awakened object. Gray heard their whispers and rubbed his chin in contemplation. These freshmen lack insight, and their combat experience is obviously insufficient. They can't even see through such a simple illusion status. But there's no need to eliminate them directly. Let them die a few times first to see if they can improve. Tombstone Boy generously admitted that he had lost. However, he still wants to give it another try. Dallas wouldn't do a business without making money. It's meaningless without profit. The broken loudspeaker suddenly spoke again. This person offers 30,000 for the deal. Then another 30,000 after another fight, deducted from Gray's salary. Dallas refuses. He's getting a bit dangerous. 50,000. At this moment, Gray cried out in pain. It seems that old fart found out about me receiving 500,000. If I don't hand over this money, he probably won't stop. Dallas is ready to start the fight as the price increases once again. And Tombstone Boy is not procrastinating either. I don't think I am very strong. It's just that I haven't used my true strength yet. So I will only use one move. Regardless of the outcome, I will admit that you are stronger than me, he said as he bit through his own finger. He was focusing on writing something on the tombstone. Dallas doesn't want to waste time. He aimed the bow and crossbow at Melvin's head. Write another word and I'll pull the trigger. Try me if you don't believe it. Melvin looked confused. The battle between the two geniuses shouldn't be like this, right? Why is he somewhat unfair? Gray sentenced him to death right away. Made a mistake. Melvin lacks combat experience and has a very high mortality rate. Now it seems that Dallas has a high probability of surviving until graduation. He can try to get more resources allocated to him. Then he said to the air, "This kid is not worth so much. Old fart, you were wrong in your judgment. You pay this money yourself. Otherwise, I'll report you to the education department." The loudspeaker responded, "You are right. He is indeed not worth so much. From now on, you are expelled from the education department." Gray was extremely angry. Why? Just because I am the education department director. And you are destined to be a wage earner. This is an academy where geniuses gather. The so-called geniuses in Dallas' eyes. Just some ordinary muggles with clear price tags. At this time, another genius stepped forward and started to yell. Dallas calmly shouted to this muggle, "It's 5,000. The young man clearly felt the humiliation. Why do others get tens of thousands while I only get 5,000? As the top talent in the entire city, I won't lose to someone from that sinful town. But he was easily defeated by Dallas with just one move. Quentin complained as he stepped forward. MO Academy is not lacking in geniuses. He then looked around and said, "This house looks very old. The academy should renovate it. I heard that there is a new type of equipment that has just been developed. It can enhance the activity of cells in the body for better absorption of demon crystals. And there is also a device that can preliminarily test the compatibility between the demon core and the awakened object. Alas, I just started dozens of companies for fun. What should I do if I have so much money that I have nowhere to spend it? By the way, my potential is still not a loser, 9 stripe." Even before Dallas could act, the voice of the distant vice principal changed. It became sharp without the previous steadiness. "Welcome, Quentin, to MO Academy. Congratulations on being the second student to pass this year. I hope you have a great time in the academy for the next 3 years. His anxious look seemed afraid that Quentin might run away. Quentin nodded at Dallas and returned the gesture with a slight bow. "Please, after you." Shortly after, he stood behind Dallas, assuming a victorious posture. This makes other students unable to bear it. They spoke up to Gray about the unfairness. First, this Dallas was inexplicably admitted specially. Then those 2 guys who clearly lost were also spared. Now accepting such a loser just because they have money. Is this the MO Academy that everyone competes fiercely to get into? Gray looked at him quietly and said, "I think it's quite fair. Perhaps you think we are trying to uphold what these people find unfair. But at the moment of their deaths in the future, they might think, why didn't they eliminate us back then? That would be truly unfair. And there is no fairness to speak of in this world to begin with. At least none of those few guys you mentioned, who got special treatment from us can measure up to you in any way. Say it one more time, the rules of MO Academy are rules. Stay or leave." The person who was disciplined clearly does not comply. "I will stay. But I do not comply." Especially this one called Quentin. What ability does he have to stay at Imo Academy? Gray chuckled. Then you two should practice. The loser will be eliminated. Quentin shrugged indifferently. And the person seemed to be getting somewhat excited. He wasn't sure about taking on Dallas, but facing someone like Quentin, who relied on his family background, he felt more than capable. But when Quentin revealed his awakened object, he fell silent. It was a glittering gold ingot, emitting a golden light in the void, especially two crystals embedded on top. Even the extent to which he could perceive the spread of the energy. The distance to embed the third crystal was not far either. The boy was stunned. He just realized that this was not something he could touch with his first awakening. Quentin chuckled and patted him on the back. Brother, I'm just too lazy to fight. But that doesn't mean I'm a loser, understand? And Imo Academy does not accept losers. Later, he slowly walked up to Dallas. Dallas heard that the seniors were all very abnormal. I'll rely on you to cover for me at school in the future. I don't have anything else besides money. When all classmates are priced clearly. To request teacher's shadow area in the heart. At this moment, Dallas will announce its own price every time it helps a freshman enroll. However, what Dallas did not expect is that the girl with the pet actually had the highest price. The vice principal directly offered a sky-high price of $80,000 to plead with Dallas for mercy. Dallas, following the principle of not making money from those who have money, readily agreed. Gray glanced at the time and called an end to the first round of testing. Everyone can eat now. But you only have 30 minutes. If you're dumb enough not to bring food, then you'll have to go hungry. After saying that, he took off running, as if he was afraid of missing out on the meal. But when he arrived at the cafeteria, he was dumbfounded. All 8 dishes were vegetarian. There was not a single meat dish. He looked at the students beside him, and couldn't help but call it shameless. To steal from the institution you are supposed to watch over is truly shameless. But the students burst into laughter. Otherwise, why do you think if I get 1 credit, I am willing to come here and cook? By the way, I ordered the pill for relief takeout. Guess which dish you think it is. After all, there are 8 dishes. It's an 8th probability. I believe, teacher, you still have good luck. After saying this, the student ran out of the cafeteria in a hurry. Gray was so angry that he gritted his teeth. You may run fast, but I'll catch up, he thought to himself. Just then, Dallas approached to get his food. Gray watched him closely, reminding him. This is cafeteria food. Dallas looked puzzled and said, Yes, what's wrong? I've already enrolled. According to the school rules, I can eat in the cafeteria. Gray thought about it and agreed. He then took a steamed bun and walked towards his seat. At this time, Quentin approached next to Dallas. You are eating so hungrily. Do you know which dish has the pill for relief? Dallas shook his head self-consciously. I don't know either. Quentin's puffy mouth stopped suddenly. He didn't know whether he should swallow it or not. But Quentin is also a tough guy. Hesitating for less than 3 seconds, he swallowed it greedily. At worst, he would have diarrhea together. Someone will accompany him while he squats. Gray smiled and glanced at Dallas. He is still too naive. He said if he only gives 1 dish a pill, will he only give 1 dish? He seemed to sense his sarcasm. Dallas spoke lightly. The pill for relief is in the steamed bun. That senior put a red capsule in the dough. Gray suddenly felt that the steamed bun didn't smell good. What a rip-off. Just as Gray was fuming, Carson cautiously approached. With a sly look behind him, he tentatively stuck his head in. As a family member of a student, do you have the right to eat in the cafeteria? Gray asked teasingly. What kind of family member? Carson pondered seriously for a moment. Dallas is my half-brother. Gray, who was already angry, needed a punching bag to vent his anger. He scowled and snapped. Eat sh*t. He punched Carson's awakened object, but then Gray suddenly froze. Blockhead, fools have their own luck. When everyone is troubled by the freshman exam. Carson actively sought out Gray. At this moment, Gray was furious. He punched Carson's awakened object. But then, it was Gray's turn to be dumbfounded. The punch on Carson kept returning energy continuously. Gray stared blankly, thinking this could directly elevate one realm. He quickly waved at the distant Carson. "Hey, big guy, come over here. Was that your awakened object just now? What's its name again?" Carson hurried to introduce himself. "Yes, this is indeed my awakened object." Gray smirked and stroked his chin. He then punched Carson again. Then he smiled. "That's right, that feeling. It comes with each punch. Part of the energy reverberates through my body, increasing my power. Congratulations. I announce from now on, you are my 140th third place student at MO Academy. For a true prodigy like you, MO Academy shouldn't have exams. It's an insult to you. I apologize for not seeing your talent before. I hope you could overlook the past and become my student after officially enrolling. As your teacher, I will guide you to become the best backbone of MO Academy and even the entire human race." Carson Gray couldn't help but smile as he watched Sandbag go to get his lunch. This Sandbag is really practical. When he unconsciously took a bite of the steamed bun, he immediately felt uncomfortable and broke out in a cold sweat. The pill for relief is really inside the steamed bun. He pointed at Dallas, who knew about it, and warned sternly, "No one is allowed to reveal the matter of the pill for relief inside the steamed bun. Otherwise, I will fire him directly." He smirked and stared at the entering senior student. "Surely I can't be the only one who fell for it, right? That would be embarrassing." Friendly reminder, the dish was made with pill for relief 7. "Remember never to eat the steamed bun," he said emphatically. There were still some traces of steamed bun on his collar. The crowd nodded and chuckled. They casually cursed a few words. They entered the canteen without hesitation. One of them picked up a steamed bun and ate it. They even mocked Gray for using such tricks to deceive freshmen. "If I believe you, then I'm a fool." The girl noticed something was wrong after just one bite. "There is really poison in the steamed bun." Gray kept repeating on the side. "Don't blame me for not reminding you. 7 was the one who poisoned it." The crowd rushed to the restroom one after another in a panic. They cursed 7 and his ancestors up to the 18th generation in their mouths. Gray pretended to remain calm. He then rushed into the bathroom at the speed of light. He quickly arrived at the second round of the exam, and this time the task was very simple. The goal of the beanbag game was surprisingly 7, who was cooking lunch. Everyone had to act alone. The task was to punch him in the face within 2 hours, record a video as evidence, and that would be considered passing the second round of the exam. If anyone can flick his second brother and record it, they can be directly recruited. Gray really holds grudges. This teacher is seeking revenge on the student. He even posted a reward task, as long as any freshman slaps the person in the photo. He can be admitted to the academy on the spot by passing the freshman exam. At this moment, the freshmen on the playground are studying together in groups. After all, the senior students who can enter MO Academy are undoubtedly very capable. And Gray's gaze falls on Dallas, and the other 2, who have already passed the exam. "If it were you, what would you do?" Quentin thought about it, and rolled up his sleeves without hesitation. "A punch for 10,000. A flick for 100,000. If he still doesn't agree, then I'll keep increasing it. Until he agrees." Gray's eyes widened in shock. "I was too hasty. I should have known better than to let him start school so early. This god of wealth must really have a lot of money and tricks up his sleeve." He then turned his gaze towards Dallas. "And what about you, Dallas?" Dallas first inquired about the other party's strength. Gray thought carefully. His strength doesn't seem to be very high either. It seems like he is at the 4th awakening, but I managed to sneak a pill for relief into him. He should be in a restroom right now. His stamina should have decreased a bit. Dallas thought seriously for a moment and shook his head. Dealing with the 4th awakening is not easy. If we could kill, Maybe it would be easier. Not being able to kill makes it very troublesome. As for how to kill, he didn't say. What about not killing? What should we do? Carson confidently replied, I think as long as I let him punch me once, he will be fascinated by me. Gray nodded secretly on the side. If this guy takes out his awake object and lets Seven experience it a bit, even just a touch or a pull would work. After all, who can resist a humanoid training device? Just then, Leia suddenly came running in, excitedly shouting, Teacher, teacher, I completed the task. She then placed the recorded video in front of Gray. Seven was indeed in the deepest restroom of that building. Gray was taken aback. This shouldn't be happening. Even if he had taken the pill for relief and had mobility issues, he shouldn't have been taken down so quickly by a freshman. But when he saw the video, he was left dumbfounded. Leia stood in front of the bathroom door, shyly asking, Can I touch your bottom a bit? Seven was dumbfounded by this peculiar interest. Leia blushed in embarrassment. It turned out to be the second-round exam task announced by the teacher. Simply allowing someone to touch their bottom would secure them direct admission. Seven was going crazy. What do you think I am? It's impossible, absolutely impossible. But Leia once again gently asked to punch senior brother. In this case, the second round of the exam is also considered passed. And I promise not to use any strength at all. Seven, who has been single for 20 years, couldn't resist the cute and adorable appearance, and his nose started bleeding profusely. In the end, Leia gently touched Seven. Gray stood there holding his phone, lost in thought for a long time. He never expected it to end like this. However, this can also be considered a means to an end. He immediately announced that Leia had passed the second round of the exam. He then spoke into the hidden loudspeaker in the tree. This Seven is really incapable. Choosing sympathy just because the other party is weak. If this continues, his life will be in danger. The loudspeaker is a bit embarrassing. It's hidden so deep. How did it still get discovered? This student is definitely the most pitiful one who got tricked this year. Just because he put a pill for relief in the steamed bun. This led to him becoming the target of attack by all freshmen. Leia first acted cute and slapped Seven. She successfully passed Gray's exam. Now he has been approached by Melvin from Tombstone. He thought it would be an epic battle. He didn't expect this man to be learning Carson's methods. He directly took out his phone and transferred 30,000 yuan to Seven. He successfully recorded the video of slapping. Gray stared unbelievably at the video on the phone. He missed out on making another 30,000 yuan. You're alright now. You're worth at least 30,000 yuan. Just then, a strong man in beast fur ran over. But now he looks a bit pitiful. His body is covered in scars and bruises, like a pig's head. But there is a proud smile on his face. I hit him, but didn't capture it on video. Gray shook his head impatiently. Without the video, the exam is considered a failure. The strong man, however, spread out his hands innocently. I didn't record the video. But I did knock out one of his teeth. I'm not sure if that counts as passing the exam. Carson and Quentin on the side were shocked. This strong man is incredible. He actually knocked out a tooth of the fourth awakening senior student. The strong man smiled apologetically. He was squatting in the pit at the time. I rushed up. However, the senior is really powerful. Even if he falls into the pit, he can still beat me like this. If he had used lethal force, I would probably be dead already. Gray's mouth twitched slightly. He mourned Seven in his heart for a moment. You are not bad either. I'll count you as passing the exam. Go stand with him. Later, Gray announced that everyone could take a break. The third round of the exam will take place at midnight. However, this third round may be deadly. If you feel that you can't handle it, hurry up and withdraw. Admitting fear is nothing compared to losing your life. Later, he also instructed Dallas and the other two. There's no time to assign you a dormitory now. Just go sleep in my dormitory. He seems to care about Dallas and the others on the surface. In reality, he is thinking dark thoughts. Those senior students will definitely not be easy to deal with tonight. He can't handle it himself when they go crazy. Tonight, it's up to you three to deal with the disaster. Meanwhile, 7 also crawled out from the toilet. He reeked of a foul stench all over his body. His angry expression was clearly visible on his face. Gray, you want me to use freshmen as a target. Don't you dare give me the chance. Otherwise, I'll feed you with shit. 3 men sleeping in one bed. Would you prefer to sleep on top or on the side? I don't know how you guys would choose. Unknown_3 chose to sleep outside anyway. After seeing Dallas leave, Quentin negotiated with Carson. I'll give you $3,000. Tonight, you sleep on the floor and I sleep on the bed. How about that? But Carson, though startled, is not stupid. Dallas must have had a reason for leaving at this time. Could it be because of those who were making a scene at noon? The senior student coming to seek revenge on the teacher. Carson figured out the whole story and waved his hand at Quentin. Teacher, you should take a rest. Quentin was a little confused. What's wrong with this blockhead? Didn't the teacher take someone out for the exam? He is really inexplicable. Indeed, at the moment when Carson pressed the switch, several figures rushed into the room in a flash in front of him. Soon, Quentin's continuous wailing could be heard. Carson chuckled. He took out a stink bomb and threw it into the room. Then he firmly blocked the door. He kept muttering to himself, "Sorry for the inconvenience." Soon the senior student in the room noticed something was wrong. It wasn't Gray who was being beaten. They were eager to come out one after another. Carson, however, threatened, "Senior students, think it over. If you break out through the door, credits will be deducted. But if you agree to a condition of mine." Carson hadn't finished speaking yet when a black energy appeared at his feet. The black shadow tightly wrapped around his ankles. Carson's entire body suddenly became stiff. He involuntarily opened the door. Several senior students rushed out of the room. Carson just returned to normal. Quentin crawled out of the room with a swollen nose and bruised face. "Carson, you bastard. You betrayed me." Female senior kicked him into the foul-smelling room with one foot. "If any of you dares to come out of this door, I will break your legs." At this moment, Quentin was venting loudly. "Do you have a problem? Why do you have to pick a fight with this group of senior students?" Carson, on the other hand, encountered the vice principal during the day. He mentioned that setting up a senior student reward of 10 credits, even if it fails, will earn 1 credit. Getting beaten up will earn 2 credits, and this is a long-term task. Quentin exploded. "I don't need those useless credits since I am not lacking money." Carson is unusually serious. This is the style of MO Academy. You must integrate into it. Either fight or be beaten. If you always try to stay out of trouble, you will only be considered a mediocre waste of a person. Quentin was momentarily speechless. And Carson's words were also heard by the senior students outside the door. This junior is quite impressive. They then released the 2 of them and prepared to reward them again. Carson proudly said, "Female senior, do you believe it? One day you will beg me to hit you." Female senior has never seen such shameless person. "You don't have to ask, I'll hit you now." She was shocked by a punch. Energy continuously gathers from her fist to her body. She quickly summoned her small partners around her. Together they executed violence on Carson. And at this time, Dallas, who had hidden away, was crouching beside the grass. He wanted to see how far things would go. The loudspeaker was conveying quietly, "As long as nobody gets hurt, feel free to do as you please. This academy is as long as no one gets killed." Unknown_3. The students can do whatever they want. Unknown_3. The vice principal encourages students to fight each other. And he provides credit support to students. At the same time, the loudspeaker also tempted Dallas to hurry up and fight. He also works part-time as the director of J City Security Bureau, so even if you commit a serious offense, it's not illegal. I've always heard that people from Sin Town are very cunning and skilled. He wants to see for himself. He was so disgusted that he lost 1 credit. After being frightened, he lost 2 credits due to fear. He got injured and lost 10 credits. Dallas understands clearly. What if it's a serious injury? 100 credits. Dallas installed 10 kilograms of TNT in the senior student dormitory. Holding the detonator in his hand, he couldn't help but think he should be able to earn a lot of credits this time. At this time, Carson was punched and kicked by Senior all night. His body has been emptied out. Quentin fell asleep in a daze for the whole night. It was just that Carson next to him was yelling too loudly, and it was a bit noisy. And a few senior students were discussing as they walked. Remember the 3 freshmen we saw in the cafeteria? It seems that this sandbag kid is clearly looking for a fight on purpose. He dragged a few of us to create an opportunity for his other companion. Let's wait and see. At this point, Carson also became energetic. You just wait and see. Do they really think I can be taken advantage of for nothing? Then he took out his phone and smiled insidiously. If I don't make a few 100 credits off of you guys, I'd really be letting myself down. Dallas, who received the message, had long stationed himself beside the loudspeaker. The senior student has just pushed open the door. They felt something was wrong. On their way back, they analyzed it. Dallas didn't return overnight. And everyone was in Gray's dormitory, so Dallas was most likely to have done something suspicious in their dormitory. Several people thoroughly inspected the dormitory. In the end, they found TNT under the bed. Several people couldn't help but complain. So ruthless. Are these freshmen all crazy? They even dare to use TNT. If those old farts make a mistake, we'll all die. The TNT is set to explode in just over 10 minutes. Several senior students quickly hid outside. They were planning to wait for an opportunity and then deal with Dallas. Just then, there was a loud explosion coming from the dormitory direction. 7 was completely stunned. This TNT of his is really powerful. It exploded when there were only 10 minutes left. If he had left a little later, he would have died. At this moment, the voice of the loudspeaker fills the entire school. There is 1 senior student in the 3rd grade. 3 senior students in the 2nd grade died foolishly. Each person deducted 100 credits. Dallas Carson, the killer, currently has a total of 400 credits. Carson was suddenly stunned. I knew that this old fart was up to something. We're doomed at school in the next 2 years. Dallas, however, turned and walked away. Don't panic. We still have some credits to collect. 2 freshmen just started school and already caused chaos at the school. Not only did the vice principal fail to stop them, he even excitedly rewarded them with credit. Dallas used TNT to blow up the senior student dormitory into pieces. The vice principal rewarded him 400 credits on the spot. This also made Dallas and Carson famous at school. 7 was so angry she was itching to hit someone. These 2 brats. TNT exploded with 10 minutes left on the countdown. Disgusting. Just then, he caught a whiff of a strong fishy smell. There was also a faint hint of sweetness. Right after, his brows furrowed. As soon as he finished speaking, a few senior students fell to the ground with a thud. The nearby female senior seemed to have anticipated it as if, "You're not afraid that I'll take all of you down. Hitting me won't earn you any credit. It's not worth it." They shouted towards the playground at the same time. I voluntarily give half of the credit for this operation to this female senior. Carson beside could not contain his excitement. This time, let me take the shot.